In this video, we'll be replacing the hood release handle on this 2005 Honda Element. So we're going to move the driver's side door sill plate here. We're going to remove the entire thing. If you're able to just lift up the front and get your kick panel out, you can do that. We're going to remove the whole sill plate here. Just going to get under it with the panel tool, lift it up. There are a couple plastic clips under here that we're going to release. We're going to do this all the way forward. Now this piece here is a separate piece. So we're going to remove that from the actual sill plate. Okay. So now that this piece is actually out of the sill plate, we're just going to leave that in place for right now. We're going to continue to remove our sill here, just prying, pulling upwards all the way forward. And pull it out. Now this is a little bit easier than just trying to maneuver the front up and get your kick panel out. It's just easy enough just to take the whole piece out. Now that we have access to our driver's side kick panel and our sill plate has been removed here, one thing holding it in is going to be our door gasket or our rubber seal. We're going to start by just lifting this up here at the end and slightly pull it off of that door jamb. We only need to go up as far as the dashboard, and it's actually going to stop us from going any further, which is okay. That's about all we need. We want to remove the gasket to visibly see these two clips here. These will be inside the gasket. So now that we have that removed, the only thing holding in our kick panel will be a push clip in the back. So our hood release is actually broken off. So you may have or will have an actual handle here that you're going to have to work around. And you're going to have to get it through this opening here. So ours is broken, so we'll just pull it right up. And the push pin in the back is just going to be released by pulling it straight out. And there'll be one more push clip down the bottom. So there's this top one. And there's the bottom one. Now that we have our kick panel out of the way, we now have access to our hood release cable. So now holding our hood release handle on is going to be two 10mm bolts. Go ahead and take those out. Now if we look at the new one, we'll see that there is a firewall grommet, which means that our handle would sit here, and this piece here is going to be up, going through the firewall. Now, the other end of our cable has nothing on it. There will be some clips under the hood. So what we're going to do is now work from the latch side backwards into the vehicle, and we'll end up pulling this cable into the vehicle and out. Then we'll replace this going from the vehicle outside. So now our hood release cable is going to be attached here, which means to get to this cable underneath here, we're going to remove this piece. We're going to use a pick tool or a panel tool to remove these clips, whichever one works for you. With your clips removed, you can go ahead and grab this piece and lift it right up and out. You have to rotate it forward a little bit to get underneath your handle. So now what we have access to is our hood latch. You can see our cable comes into our hood latch here. All right, but to get access to the ball end, which is stuck inside here, we're going to need to remove our latch. There is no access to the back. All right, so you can try and push this lever out, but you're not going to be able to access that ball end. So 1, 2, 3, 10mm bolts. Okay, now we have our hood latch and hood pull assembly. What we're going to do now is work towards getting this removed from the latch. Now we can see our hood release handle cable here is where it meets up to the hood latch. That ball end here is what we're going to try and release. Now if you just tried to pry this out, there's not enough clearance here to remove the ball end. So we're going to start here. Going to use a pick tool, flathead screwdriver, whatever you have. We're just going to pop this up and out of this little channel that it's sitting in. All right. I'm going to work our cable around here. Now we have access to move this cable forward. Take our hook tool or pick tool and pull that ball end out if we need to. Otherwise, it should just come right out. So now holding our hood release cable in place, we have clips holding that cable down. We're going to use a panel tool, a couple different options here. These clips may break. They are fragile and they get more fragile over time. If you can get from behind them and squeeze them and push them outward, that'll save you from having them all break, but just be prepared that you may be replacing these clips. So what we're trying to do here is get in behind with a pair of long needle nose pliers. It looks like it helped. So here's the back side of the clip. If you can get inside here and squeeze this clip and push it outward, that'll help. Otherwise, like I said, you may end up breaking a whole bunch of these. Don't really have much room on the next one to get in behind here because of the batteries here. So we'll just try and take a chance, see if we can push it with our finger. If not, you may be able to come down through this hole with a small flathead. We're just going to see if we can pop it out. Yep, that's breaking. There we go. So this ended up bending these tabs outward. We want to squeeze these back down. Okay, so now that we're here, before we pull our cable into the vehicle, we'll make it easy for ourselves. We'll just take these clips right off. Just going to open them up and slide them off. So now inside our driver's wheel well, we're going to remove or loosen and remove partially our inner fender liner. So we're going to do a few Phillips screws here. There should be one more down the bottom, but this one's actually broken off. So you should have 3 Phillips holding on your mud flap, and then one more up here holding your fender and your fender liner together. We'll start down the bottom. Here's your fender liner. Now this Phillips screw here has a little stud sticking out. If we take a panel tool, we want to take our fender off of that stud and slide it out a little bit. And then we can have access to our fender liner to take it off of that stud as well. But before we move forward, we'll remove another clip above this one. All right, so if we continue to move up, we should have, but we do not have, one more clip here, one more clip straight above. We do have a couple up front. We're going to see if we can get this done without taking them all off. If we go to the inside of the fender liner, right about here, we have one more. We'll take that one out. So now coming back to this area here, I'm going to move our fender over. And then we're going to pop our fender liner off of that stud. What that'll allow us to do is move our fender liner in and down. Again, if you're working under this, just be careful. Wear some safety glasses. There's a lot of dirt and debris. It's going to fall down. Okay, so here is our actual hood cable release. And we have one more clip right up center here. And our last clip right inside here. And we can take this clip right off. Now if you follow this cable back towards the driver's door, this is the other side of the grommet. So when you push your grommet through from the inside, this is where it's going to come out. So now we can take this cable and just push it into the vehicle. Then we can go inside the vehicle and reroute it back out. So from here now, what we can do is remove our cable completely from the vehicle. And begin to install our new cable. To install your new cable, we're going to find this ball end and feed this through the hole into our fender well area. We're not going to be too concerned about where it goes in the fender well. We'll fix that when we get in there. What we're looking to do now is put our grommet in place. Sometimes they can be a little tricky to seat in. If you're really having a hard time, you can sometimes go into the fender well area and pull it into place if you can't push it into place. So then we're going to pull our hood release cable forward. We're going to line up for our two 10mm bolts. I'm actually going to put our bolt first, line up the hole. Get a couple of twists by hand. And do the same on the top. And we'll go ahead and tighten that down. We're not going to reinstall our kick panel just yet. We're going to go ahead and finish the install from the other side. Once that's all done, then we'll come back and we'll put our kick panel and our interior pieces back together. Well, we're in the fender well. You can see that grommet isn't fully seated. So what we can do from this side is you have a little bit more leverage, a little bit more room to work. Grab that with a pair of needle nose pliers and just pull that grommet through. All right, there is a little area where it's going to want to be. So you're going to want to pull it through just until it finds that cut in the grommet. You don't want to go too far. You don't want to pull the whole thing through. You just want to get it seated, which will look just like that. From here, we have one clip straight up. So we can put this clip back on. Before we push that clip into place, what we're going to do is actually take our end and feed it up through the fender into the engine bay. And we're going to feed it up through our fender into the engine bay. All right, now that we have our cable up in there and our excess is where it needs to go, we're going to take our clip and plug that back in. Now we can reinstall our fender liner. So now to reinstall our fender liner, it's going to be the reverse of the removal, because this, once you get it onto this little stud, will somewhat hold this into place. And if you really need to, go ahead and just thread one of those Phillips screws temporarily to hold your fender liner in place. And then you can focus on the rest, getting it in place. So what you're going to need to do is pull this plastic fender piece away and get your piece inside there. Use a pick tool to see if that helps. Put this fender piece in place, and we'll put this screw back on. Okay, now what we'll do is we're going to work up here in this area and try and secure it with a couple of clips so it doesn't fall out of place. Okay, now we're here. We can move down to our mud flap. It's going to be mud flap, fender liner, rocker panel. The mud flap is going to pinch the fender liner in place. All right, and again, there would be one more down the bottom here, but ours is broken off inside. So our hood release cable here is out of the fender where we routed it. It's inside this hood prop. We're going to need it on the outside. So we'll put it on the outside of the hood prop, and it's going to get clipped in here, 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 and here. So we know we're free of any obstructions. So what we can do now is grab our hood latch. What we're going to do is open up, pull out that end as far as it'll go. So we're going to take the ball end and we're going to put it into place here. We're going to put it through and we're going to pull back. And then we're going to pull it under this area here, pull it back again, and seat this notch in just by pushing straight in. Okay, be careful here. So we're just going to use a pair of needle nose. There we go. You can tell if you're seated all the way in just by looking at the other side, making sure it's all the way into position. Once that's done, so now we can take our hood latch and our 3 bolts. Now when it comes to hood latches, there are a few things to remember. There is a little bit of movement here, a little bit of up, down, a little bit of left and right play. So if you lock this down all the way up or all the way down, your hood may not close all the way flush like it did originally. So what you can do is take note of where it looks like it was previously and line it back up to the same exact position. Or we could have made a mark originally before we removed the latch. As long as you're really close and within reason, it's not a big deal. You should have the same operation on your hood as you did before. So we'll go ahead and tighten down our 10 mil bolts. All right, so now our hood latch is in position. Our cable is in position. Now we can start putting on our cable clips. All right, so you can either start at the front or all the way at the back. No big deal. You're just going to start here and just push them into place. If these ended up breaking on you and you don't have any replacements, you could use a zip tie if you really needed to, but we suggest replacing them with the correct clips. So we can take our clip, push it back in. We have one more up here. And if we follow this up, we're going to have one more right here. So now that we have our hood latch reconnected, we're going to check the operation. We're going to close our hood prop. We're going to close our hood. We're going to go in the vehicle, pull the hood release, make sure it opens. All right, everything looks good. Do that 2 or 3 times just to make sure nothing's loose. So now that we know our latch is operational, we can go ahead and put our trim cover back on. We can put our push clips back in. Now that we have our trim piece back on, our hood cable is lined up and installed, we can close our hood. We're done under here. We can go inside the vehicle and start putting our interior panels back together. Now that our hood release cable is installed and bolted in, tested, we can start to reinstall our interior panels. We're going to start with our kick panel. And this square end here is going to go into this square end here. All right, we're going to push our kick panel back. I'm going to line it up into position, and if you rock it around just a little bit, you'll find where those push clips will want to sit into. All right, so we have the bottom locked in, and the top is locked in. Now we're going to take our door gasket. We're going to make sure our plastic tabs here are up against this pinch flange. I'm going to push our gasket onto that flange right there. And our kick panel is in position. So these are going to be the push clips that we're going to look to line up and install. Out of all of them, this one here, it's going to be on the vertical going down into your driver's side footwell. Is going to be the most difficult to line up, but it still shouldn't be that hard. So we'll flip it over. We're going to lower it down into position. Remember, we have another trim piece that sits in here that's still at the seat. So we'll make sure that this goes under that piece. Try to stay out of your shot. So we'll lift that up. Slide this under. Same thing in the front. This is where tools would be nice. So one thing you can do to help you is align some key identifiers here. You know this comes through here, and you know the end of this meets up with the back panel. Well, once you have that lined up, go ahead and give that a little tap down. That'll keep that in place. So we're going to take this trim panel here and see if we can get it up on top of this sill panel. So we have the front tap down. the back tap down. So we have a little bow up in the middle, which means our clips aren't finding their positions, which is fine. We have this little panel here that needs to be up on top. If we just give it a little push in and a little wiggle, those clips should find their spots. Once you found them, give it a little tap down all the way across, and then one in the footwell. Once your door sill is nice and flush here to the body and there's no gaps, you can clip in this trim piece here. Just push it down and back into place. Once you've done that, you're all done.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ, the only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.